Mr. Speaker, I rise today to offer an amendment to this bill. Passage of this amendment will not prevent the passage of the underlying bill. If it is adopted, my amendment will simply be incorporated into the bill, and the bill will immediately be voted upon. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if a question is appropriate, but is this February 2nd? Is this Groundhog Day? I'm curious. This is the 10th time this bill has been before the House. And those who are in support would argue, enough is enough, let's pass it and get on with it. Those of us in opposition would say, well, why haven't you written a bill that is sufficient to the problems raised by the pipeline? Specifically, for 10 times on this floor and even additional times in committee, the issue of the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund has been raised. We have raised that issue 10 times. It's been debated here on the floor. I've heard 5, 6 people speak to that issue. The chairman of the committee are well aware that this bill has a huge loophole in it, allowing one company that owns a pipeline to avoid paying into the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund. Why in the world would we move a bill that allows this company, unique among all others, to not participate in a very, very important part of the protection of communities and the environment? The Kalamazoo issue has been raised here, the spill, over $60 million having been spent, of which paid for by the Oil Spill Liability Fund and then reimbursed by the pipeline company. Let's do something right. I mean, this is great fun, back and forth, back and forth. We kick this thing around. We may get some political points on one side or the other, but why in the world don't we write a decent piece of legislation? Why don't we do it right? Why would we exempt one company among all of the others of hundreds of pipeline companies and allow this one Canadian company? And I love Canada. My son-in-law is a Canadian. This is about doing what's right. This amendment would simply include this company being required to participate in the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund. It's a lot of dollars. It's about $24 million a year. That's a pretty good tax break. Who among us would not like to have that tax break? I don't see any. Well, I guess we're all going to stand up because we want to have it. The rest of the story is this. We have spent an enormous amount of time on this issue when, in fact, as has been said here many times by proponents and opponents, we ought to get on to real infrastructure. Consider the time spent on this issue when you consider the time that has been spent on transportation bills on this floor. Consider the time that we must spend figuring out how to pay for repairing our bridges, building our highways, our ports, our airports. Consider that time. 10 times this bill has been here. 10 times this House has ignored a tax break that is not warranted, has allowed to move forward to the Senate a bill that in its very substance provides an unwanted, unnecessary, and grossly unequal tax break to one company among all the other pipelines. This amendment simply comes to the point of making sure that this pipeline company, like every other petroleum pipeline company in America, pays its fair share of the Oil Spill Liability Trust Fund, which is essential. And I see some of my friends from Michigan here. You know how important this is. The Kalamazoo River, a big deal. $60 million thus far and more to come. The Oil Spill Liability Fund was there to provide the early money for the cleanup. It's important, folks. My colleagues, this is important. Let's do it right. This is our 10th time. Let's do it right. Adopt this amendment. We clear up one problem in the bill. We remove 1 point of opposition, and we do what's right. I ask for your aye vote.
Gentleman's time has expired.